Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. This is Jean-Daniel Ossel, the president of the Java Card Forum, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our 5th webinar of our 2023 webinar series. I hope you enjoyed the previous one, and you will also enjoy this one. Today, billions of devices in different market segments benefit of Java Card security features. IoT security is a main concern, and this is especially sensible in healthcare, where more and more devices are connected. In this webinar, Christian Thomas and Brian Mueller of Oracle will present the benefits of using Java Card for securing medical connected devices. Christian is senior software engineer at Oracle and part of Java Platform Group in Bucharest, and is dedicated to Java Card embedded security technology field. Christian has over 17 years of experience and is a member of IEEE and Global Platform. His work focuses on a very broad list of topics like cybersecurity, Java Card IoT, crypto blockchain, embedded and mobile application development, OSS cloud fog infrastructures, distributed and parallel computing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and computational cryptography. Brian is Director and Product Manager at Oracle, and more precisely, Director and Product Manager of Device Connectivity within Oracle's real-time health system, where he spearheads the development and implementation of a suite of solutions, including bedside medical device interfaces, laboratory medical device interfaces, and Oracle Health Mobile Vitals Collection. Brian's extensive experience spans over 27 years at Oracle, previously Cerner, encompassing diverse roles such as the software developer and architect for PathNet, lead architect for SurgiNet surgery anesthesia, and knowledge architect for EMR critical care. Brian holds a degree in computer science from Truman State University. In his tenure, he has been awarded 9 patents with 17 in the application stage. Your microphones are muting during the presentation. We will unmute them at the end of the presentations for the question period. In the meantime, if you have pressing questions, you can also post them in the chat and we will address them during the question session. Please also note that the presentation will be available and there will be a recording of this webinar that will be available on our YouTube channel. So you can really focus on the presentation without the need for screen capture or stuff like that. And without any more time, please welcome Christian and Brian for the presentation. Christian, Brian, the screen is yours.
So this is the agenda. Brian, you have the floor.
All right. Hello, thanks everybody for having me. As said, my name is Brian and I'm the Director and Product Manager of Device Connectivity within Oracle's real-time health system. In my role today at Oracle, I spearhead the product management and development of a suite of solutions such as BMDI, MDI, Infusion Suite, and VitalsLink. These all enhance patient care through seamless device integration. As stated, I've been at Cerner and now Oracle for 27 years and started on the technical side and now on the product side, and it's been quite a journey. I always like to start with why I do what I do. So healthcare is personal and it touches every one of us, and it's why I spent my career in this field. I've had the privileges of witnessing firsthand the positive impact that technology can have on patient care. In fact, not too long ago, I was on the receiving end connected to these devices and receiving care, which only drove home further what I know, and we must get this right. The data we share must be accurate and it must be secure. So what is the Internet of Medical Things? So in today's healthcare landscape, as we know, medical devices play a crucial role in providing effective and efficient patient care. In the not so distant past, medical devices were more like an island, each working well, but in isolation. But in today's world, these devices are talking to each other and sharing data. Now, to get that correct solution here, we must be looking at it holistically. It's the right patient with the right device, with the right data, and at the right time, so the provider can give us the right care. And in this environment as a whole, it must be trusted and it must be secure. So to get my hands wrapped around this vast network known as the Internet of Medical Things, I group it together in 4 different areas. That said, the lines can blur a little bit, but I'll use these to kind of talk through the different devices that are out there. We'll start with the in-hospital and in-clinic. These devices are used within your healthcare facilities to monitor patient vital signs, administer medications, perform diagnostic tests. Examples here would be your infusion pump, patient monitors, and laboratory analyzers. Next, we'll move over to your in-home. This is a quickly growing market and encompasses providing care for patients in the comfort of their own home. Good device examples here are your blood glucose meter, home sleep apnea monitors, and there's entire remote patient monitoring systems that can be sent home with a patient, and they connect up to many different devices. Going down from there, I'll talk next about your on-body or your wearables. These devices are worn on the body to collect data about the patient's health and activity levels. Examples here include your fitness tracking, smartwatches, and continuous glucose monitoring devices. Once again, it's worth noting that these same devices are used in hospital and at home, which goes towards that blurring of the lines I mentioned earlier. Finally, I'll call out the community, which includes your mobility services and emergency response. These devices are used in a community setting and provide your healthcare services to patients. Some may not have access to your traditional healthcare facilities. Examples here would be your ambulance equipment, your telemedicine devices, and even in mobile health clinics. Specifically around that last one, we've done some work in developing nations to extend device connectivity even where it didn't exist before, which was pretty exciting. So on to CareAware now. So this is my world, and it's a solution that seamlessly integrates your IoMT devices we covered with your electronic health records. So when you think of CareAware, think of it as a vendor-neutral platform that enables interoperability between medical devices, healthcare applications, and EHRs, and allows that seamless communication. To understand a little bit about CareAware's reach, I'll cover some highlights, which will help paint the picture. So we're deployed in over 10 countries, which means that we have a global healthcare community. As I mentioned before, but worth reiterating, we're EHR agnostic. We are actually live with several different EHR platforms. We have a CareAware device library of over 1,000 devices, and that list is always growing. I license my solution by bed, and we have over 194,000 licensed bed ready to go with device connectivity today. You'll find us in over 1,500 facilities across over 260 health systems. And we have over 50 validated partners or members, and I'll go a little bit deeper on that in the next slide. Before we get into that, I want to step back and take a look at CareAware's history and how we got where we got. So Cerner started off as a laboratory company. So initially, device connectivity was only with lab, and it was a point-to-point architecture with those lab devices. Now, as Cerner branched out into other areas of healthcare, we also started to connect to more device types. The early venture was into the operating room, and with that new workflow came new requirements. So our architecture had to evolve to handle it. So an example here was having to have that device data that we collected available even when the EMR was down, so that when it came back up, that data was available. Of course, the growth did not stop just within the OR. So as device connectivity needs grew throughout the hospital, we also grew as a solution. So ICU, your med-surg, your ambulatory. Though it's worth noting at this time, we took a step back and looked at device connectivity holistically. We stopped looking at it as just device connectivity, but as a workflow standpoint, and that's where you'll get the quote CareAware, and we have that new architecture that was introduced. A couple good examples here to go through, just on what that means. When I say workflow, is one would be infusion suite. So when in an ICU, the nurse documents every hour historically. They go around collecting data from devices individually, and they manually put that into the record. With integration, these values are now pulled all together in a timeline contextual view. So your vital signs, hemodynamics, infusion are all within one view within the context of a patient and what's going on with them. You also can see a trend of that data during the documentation. Another good example here would be your mobile vitals collection, or we'll refer to it as Vitals Link. In the past, your vitals machines were wheeled into the room, collected manually, and then charted it into the record when the provider had time. When looking at that workflow holistically, we said we can do this better. So we worked hand in hand with our device partners. We pushed that patient and clinician validation down into the device with a barcode-driven workflow. That now allows the clinicians to verify your vitals data at the device itself, signing it directly into the patient's medical record. It saves time and improves the accuracy there. Okay, so partner program. So we've talked about the transformative power of integration within healthcare, but I would like to highlight that it's a three-pronged approach. And without any one of these, it's not possible. So it's only when our healthcare providers, our device manufacturers, and device connectivity of care where come together that we can pave the way for improved patient outcomes. So to further that, we created a partner program, which is an active collaboration between development, sales, marketing, and support. Now, not every device partner has to do this, but it does create that unique relationship that emphasizes the best of both companies, and it allows us to better address our mutual client needs. It's kind of that old adage you'll hear thrown around, better together. So why partner closely together? First off, it expands the CareWare driver library, but more importantly, we can jointly advance that development of integrations. So by working closely with our partners, we develop not only drivers for existing devices that they have on the market, but also we can get ahead of that and do the new ones that are going to be coming out. We are also able to work strategically together to apply new approaches to challenges and tackle new workflows together. In essence, we allow ourselves to innovate together, which I love. Next off, we test the data transfer throughout the workflow, not just at the device, and it provides seamless integration with our different CareWare solutions that I highlighted before. So often in testing an interface historically, right, we'd focus on the piece that's just the data transfer. Are we meeting that specification? But that can fall short. So for example, we make an assumption on an interface or there's a shortcoming that's not spelled out. And what happens is there's a downstream impact for that. But by taking a holistic approach prior to going to a client, I find that we have much better results. Additionally, by working through this closely together, we grow our knowledge of those involved, and because we'll pull in consulting and sales and all that. So when we have our knowledge all increased of each other better and those workflows better, it's an improved in client engagement later on downstream. Next, we achieve a scalable integration and for broad market adoption. And I look at that in two different ways. On the technical side, we ensure that all these connections can meet our largest clients, not only today, but those that can come in the future. On the clinical side, we bring together our terminology and an agreement on how to approach the market or talk to the market. It results in a clearer message and once again, a better client experience all the way from your sales to implementation. Now, I know that not everything's perfect, but I find that any level of alignment in this space right here has made a measurable difference. Finally, we coordinate support efforts across to ensure better client satisfaction. So what does that mean? We collaborate by working together and it goes all the way down even to our support team. So it ensures that the clients, when they have a question or they run into an issue, they receive that timely and effective assistance. In my experience, without a good alignment here, what happens is the client will get stuck in the middle with two groups pointing at each other that it's the other's issue. It's not where our clients want to be, and it's not where we want them to be. Go on the next slide. So the CareWare architecture. So now that we've established what is Oracle CareWare, let's peel back just one layer and look at a high level of what this connectivity looks like. To orient to this slide, I'm going to go from the right to the left. You'll see that we can connect to devices in a variety of different ways, which will start to highlight some of the places Java Card can fit into this picture. One key way we connect at the top right is through a gateway. So for example, the monitor and infusion pumps, they'll connect up to their device manufacturer's gateway, and then that'll connect up to CareWare. This can sit on-prem or in the cloud. Another common way for them to connect out that I'll call out is on the bottom right. It's through our device adapter and connectivity engine. Many devices don't have the ability to communicate outside of a direct connect. So for example, a ventilator will connect up to the device adapter, which will connect up to our connectivity engine, which is running the driver, and it sends that message on into CareWare. So once the data gets into CareWare, which is now that middle area, it's running in the cloud, and now you get into that fault-tolerant, scalable, highly available architecture. A key piece that occurs here from the driver is that all the data that we get in there has been normalized across all the devices. So we're all talking the same language now. It also has the management of complex events to correlate your trend multiple from different data sources. It helps make informed and real-time decisions. Finally, we house the device lifecycle here. This has the ability to detect the presence of connected devices and maintain a list. It also adds on that layer of patient to that. So this allows for those powerful workflows we talked about. So this patient is associated to this device at this time, and this data is belonging to them. Now onto the left side of the diagram, you'll see that you'll see what is thought of as your traditional consumers, I guess, which is your EMRs, your analytics, even devices themselves. It's worth noting that consumers can also be producers, and it results in that bi-directional communication between devices and systems. I think a good example here would be the infusion pumps. When an order can be sent down from the EMR down to the infusion pump to be programmed, the pump then sends back its running information to the EMR for documentation. On to the next slide. Okay, security. So we covered the world of medical devices, and over time they've become more interconnected. And with that, the importance of security becomes paramount. An unsecured device poses a significant risk to patient safety and the privacy. Any unauthorized access to these devices could remove that trust in the system I talked about earlier. And to break this down, I'll look at it in 3 different areas, and each could have a devastating impact. So first is the altering of patient data. So this would be the manipulation of data that goes to and from a device. This could lead to a misdiagnosis, inappropriate treatment, and potentially life-threatening consequences with that. The second is a disruption of the device. So a vulnerable device that can be accessed can be rendered inoperable or can operate it in an incorrect way. This could disrupt that patient care that they're getting, or potentially even put patients at risk if it starts to run an infusion faster than it should, or even slower than it should. And finally is the stealing of sensitive patient data. So when data is not encrypted or it can be deciphered, that data can be stolen. And keep this in mind, the data that's going back and forth to a device could include your medical record data, financial information, and even personally identifiable information. So I'll land here, and I've been in the device world long enough to know that several documented security breaches in this space have occurred, and each one of them have been impactful for different reasons. Unfortunately, at times in the development world, I've seen security take a backseat kind of as an afterthought, but in today's world, it can't, and it's got to be first and foremost in our thought and consideration. I'd also like to acknowledge, though, on the device side that many of you are heavily regulated. So adding in something like JavaCard is not a quick turn, but as I say, the second best time to plant a tree is now. So, well, that's all. Thanks for having me today, and I hope you found some of this useful. I'll be handing the reins back over.
Thank you very much, Brian. I'm stepping into the agenda for the second point. The presentation outline is a little bit in more detail from defining medical devices and importance of the securing medical devices, the part that you cover, Brian. And then we are jumping into the second section where we are targeting to discuss about JavaCard technology, because maybe of our attendees are familiar with medical devices and are not familiar with JavaCard, or vice versa. Some of our attendees are familiar with JavaCard technology, but they are not familiar with medical devices. That's why we had this first part with terminology, architecture, and IoMT, what means. So in this section, we are focusing about JavaCard technology. We are focusing about use cases, and also a little bit discussion about security regulation and standards within this area. So starting first with the JavaCard platform, for the attendees which are not familiar, the main success reason for JavaCard is the fact that it's running in production in secure element. And a secure element is that little chip that is doing whatever and wherever is need hardware security. What means hardware security? It means that this chip is tamper resistant, is resilient to side channel attacks and hardware attacks, including ultrasounds and ultraviolets and so on. So it's in the end of the day tamper resistant. On inside of this secure element, of course, because it usually is a microcontroller, you is having its own CPU, random access memory, flash or EEPROM acting like a non-volatile memory, and I/O controller, input/output. And this provides a very serious secure platform for JavaCard to run into it. And the JavaCard virtual machine, once is running into it, it's able to run different applications, which we are calling JavaCard applets. And these different applications are targeting different verticals. So Java card is widely broadly used in the telecom, in GSM, in SIM cards, in payment cards from American Express to Visa and MasterCard and even China Union Pay, from into identity and access cards like your passport. So is broadly used, and we are assisting to a migration into IoT area to the connected cars. We know for sure that some vendors are producing electronic vehicle chargers with Java card because of the security and because of the payment. They are producing key fobs and digital car keys according to CCC consortium and so on. So there are a lot of verticals beyond the traditional ones, and this is important for Java card because it's everything is related to security, like identification, authorization, access control, data confidentiality, root of trust is device attestation is handled by are handled by Java card platform in conjunction with the secure element. As you can see in this slide, according to some figures that we have from year 2020 and 2021, in each year there are around 9.5 billion secure elements shipped worldwide, and according to some estimation, in each year 6 billion of them are running Java card. In terms of specifications, right now Java card specification is at version 3.2. As release goals, we will continue to support the traditional markets that we stated, like ID, payment, and GSM, mobile phones. But in addition, we are targeting new use cases. That's why we are presenting in here new use cases like IoT and IoMT, Industry 5.0, non-human identity, blockchain, and even artificial intelligence, machine learning. For some of these use cases, new use cases, we Oracle presented in the past different demos even, and not only presentations in JCF webinar and in other webinars as well. It's supporting new secure hardware form factors like normal secure element, embedded secure element, and integrated secure element, and fulfill broader security requirements. Now, before jumping and seeing very concretely speaking the connection between Java card platform and technology with the IoMT, so the medical devices, in here is actually again a statement between the segments in the medical area, but exactly like Brian said, we have a blur line. So sometimes are overlapping between them. What I stated in here, and I will try to explain myself with several examples. The most important statement in this slide is that starting with December 2022, the US Food and Drug Administration, so FDA, authorized to regulate new medical device submissions to ensure security testing and controls. And this is very important, and I'm trying to give you some samples which are practical and already happening in the medical field. So in the hospital and in cleaning segment, as well as in community segment in here, linked to the traditional market, we have contactless and contact Java cards as a healthcare insurance card for the people. So we have a very concrete case in European Union, in Romania. Of course, other countries which are not having Java card, they have normal standard card, not necessary memory cards, but they are not Java card. But in the end of the day, is something traditional entering in something which you will see in a bit is not traditional at all. So moving forward, as you can see here, beyond the patient flow management, there is personnel management, which means, of course, a nurse or a doctor or doctor with Java card secure element, as long as it's contactless, can authorize and trigger, for instance, an infusion pump. This, of course, could be with Java card or with without Java card. We want to have Java card because we will see in different use cases it's well fitted to have Java card instead of other technology. Then, if we are referring to on body segment, On body segment, of course, the market of wearables is very important and it's very active, but also the market of electronic pills. We have a use case for this, and you will see. This is the most non-secure segment because these devices are not on-prem. So they are not in the premises of the hospital or clinic. They are not in the premises of whatever government. They are in the premises of the person, of the patient at home. And therefore, these are critical in terms of security because the data and the privacy is critical for the patient and may involve including damage about the life of the person, him or herself. This being said, we have prepared several use cases, and the first use case is a little bit technical, and we are targeting with this use case to go through the terminology and to link to the Java card. For these use cases are dedicated a few slides, actually 3. It's about bedside and in-home medical device integration. Of course, we are discussing about Oracle CareAware, but you can envision if you are a Java card licensee, whatever other cloud. We want to use this Oracle CareAware because it's a very good platform, but of course is not necessary. So taking the arrows from bottom to up, as you can see, and as Brian stated, in here are a little bit more details. If you are looking at this first arrow, we are also keeping in mind a color legend for each one, and I'm trying to highlight the things. We may have medical devices on bed, but not only on bed, could be at home, in home, or on body as well. These devices are communicated into Oracle CareAware platform via a gateway. This gateway is not CareAware, is a gateway from the vendor which is producing the medical device. And in order to push data and to receive data from CareAware, is going to communicate with a virtual appliance which is running in the data center of the hospital. This is one way. The other way, as Brian stated, with 50 partners and members of the CareAware validation program, those devices, if for instance they have exotic serial interface like RS232, then they can send data through the serial digital serial interface to a device adapter, and from this device adapter is entering in the connectivity engine, which is a CareAware product, and this is able to run applications, and these applications are able to push data into CareAware cloud platform. If we are going in more details, so in here we discuss first arrow, and this first arrow that we have in here, it's important because it's mandatory to have it in order to push data. Mainly is according to the color legend HTTP secure or WebSocket secure to push data into here. On the arrow number 2, and this is also important, after the REST API and microservices, the connectivity within message-oriented middleware architecture, which in CareAware is realized with Java Messaging Service, JMS, but of course could be realized with different platforms. And what is this arrow 2? Why is important? Because it's offering a publisher subscriber model. So as you can see in here, all the devices are in the publisher mode, but in certain case we have subscribers which are either biomeds or other applications, external applications, but also the devices in some certain scenarios could be in subscriber mode. Now coming back into our main scenario, so once data is sent into OCI, so in CareAware platform, metadata and real-time publication is happening for the external application. Why I said this is important? Because if we are referring to devices in IoMT devices on body or in home segment, usually they are sending their own data into the vendor clouds, so not in CareAware. but taking into account the federative cloud communication, which is acting like, again, an external application, on the same arrow 2, they were able to bidirectionally communicate with CareAware platform. Now, if we are referring to arrow number 3, which is integrating health enterprise for patient care devices, as you can see in here from AMR, electronic medical records, so from the hospital or clinic chain, the open link is receiving data in compliance with HL7. So in the medical devices area in IoMT, the main set of standards and protocols is defined by health level 7. And this is important because this ensures the minimum level of interoperability between a system like CareAware and different devices. But not only this, you will see. And then finally is the part of the iCommand dashboard and biomeds who are validating via dashboards if these devices are working properly, if these devices are configured correctly, if these devices are having the latest and the greatest version of the driver. So this is also important because otherwise, it's quite difficult to have, for instance, device attestation. So for CareAware, device attestation hopefully will be a very important feature. And this is having impact in trust and in security. So as long as these devices are genuine and properly handled, then we do not care about those 3 columns that Brian presented regarding the poisoning of the data, so data alteration or discrepancy or the device malfunctioning. So this is quite important to have this arrow in here, and it already is implemented, of course. And what you have in here is totally in concordance with what is happening in CareAware. And now I'm jumping into here to provide more details regarding the integration with the Java Card platform and technology. So taking into account the same use case, as you can see in here, let's deep dive, and we have the following scenario. So let's assume we have an infusion pump, and this is connected into a patient bed in order to administrate some medicine or treatment to that patient. And of course, we don't want someone else to activate and to trigger and to handle this infusion pump. So we can envision the fact that a doctor or a nurse has a Java card, contactless card, is authenticating to this infusion pump, which again, being Java card, is already eventually, if it's connected with to connectivity engine from CareAware Cerner, from Oracle CareAware Cerner, then we have device attestation, so it's a genuine infusion pump. And as long as the treatment is triggered for the patient, then the data via connectivity engine is going to be stored into Oracle Cloud CareAware platform. But as details, as you can see in here, this connectivity engine is running an application, the blue part. This one is in Java, but could be native as well. This application, of course, is delegating the security to a Java card applet, which is not acting like a simple crypto library, just calling a digital signature. You are able, because you are able to deploy and to install applets into Java card platform within secure element, which is hardware tamper-resistant. You are able to actually do risk assessment. So you have 4 statements, if statements to do this risk assessment, not in the device itself, but in the Java card secure element is a possibility. The communication between these 2 components is physically, usually a digital serial interface like I2C, ICCC, or SPI. And the message interchange are APDUs, application protocol data units, in compliance with ISO 7816-4. And once this communication is done and is interacting in order to do device attestation, to do the authentication and so on, cryptographic primitives to be called, then via secure connection, usually HTTP REST, is pushing data into the cloud, where usually in here again is message-oriented middleware, so GMS, in order to have publisher-subscriber for the CareAware platform. And usually this in here we highlighted like being HTTPS, but could be GMS. If we are collaborating with other clouds, because if we have two hospital chains and we want to share information between them in an anonymous mode, they maybe communicate each other via blockchain, and therefore for the blockchain, mainly in order to communicate with the gateway of the blockchain, you have G remote procedure code. So there are different protocols that in our days could be handled in a secure manner by a Java card secure element. Here, and with this slide, we are finishing this first use case. Are a little bit more details inside of the device. So taking into account the previous slide, we have the secure element, which is the nurse contactless Java card secure element, or the secure element embedded in the eventually in the connectivity engine or gateway, not necessarily from Cerner, or even in the infusion pump. So is the hardware which is tamper-resistant in there is running a Java card virtual machine and Java card API. And on top of this, the integrated software vendors, they can deploy their own Java card applets as applications, which are certified, and they are controlled and deployed according to GP set of standards. And of course, you can have control sharing, firewall mechanism, and a lot of security mechanisms, which is helping for you to provide, including risk assessment. Communicating with APDUs with a gateway, does not matter who is providing this gateway. In our example, we took, let's say, a case where CareAware would have such an interconnectivity. It's a hardware, eventually a Linux embedded, but not necessary. And on top of it, either there are native libraries or Java API. In our case, the connectivity engine is actually running a Java standard edition application and is able to push data and to receive data to and from CareAware platform hosted in OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Moving forward, let's deep dive into second use case where Java card can be used or cannot be used, but we hopefully prefer to think that it is useful to have Java card in here. It's about remote patient monitoring. And as we said in the home segment on body and on body segment, the security is more critical because these devices are not in the premises of the hospital. So they can be attacked, they can be tampered, and the data can be altered and collected in malicious manner. So for this, of course, there are devices in the market which are monitoring the heart rate, are monitoring the blood pressure, temperature, the even electrocardiogram, glucose level, blood oxygen level, and so on. And these devices usually are encapsulated like smart watches or smart bracelets, and they are able, because of the NFC chipset, of course, to run Java card. And why we should keep this in mind, that they can run Java card? Because again, the device attestation, the integrity of the data, the security of the overall system, and the risk assessment would take place into the secure element which is running Java card, and would address this major challenge that exists independent by our presentation, because we are talking about highly personal data. These IoMT and IoT devices should collect in a secure and a private manner this data. The third and the next example and use case would be, for instance, IoMT device for monitoring Parkinson. Unfortunately, for this Parkinson disease, the persons, you may know, should go into a doctor, into a hospital, talk with a doctor, and based on the interview and some exercises in the place, they get a treatment. But unfortunately, the period of time for observing this kind of movements and the tremor and so on is not enough. That's why there is a company which is issuing different devices like this, for the hand, for ankles, for the waist. And with them, they are measuring quite accurate the tremor, the bradykinesia, which is the lack of dopamine in the brain, postural instability, gait disturbance, dyskinesia, and these are important because they are monitored the entire day. For sure, these devices, they do not have Java card, but there is a use case, and that's why we are discussing in here, because part of the attendees in this presentation are also licenses, Java card licenses. So maybe another company would be interested to include Java card in some certain components in here in order to ensure the anonymity and confidentiality of the collected data. Another use case that we highlighted are the mood-aware IoT devices. And of course, in here, there are several samples from games console to social robots with empathy, but most realistic one is the remote healthcare monitors, the emotional state. So when a patient is discussing with the psychiatric doctor or with a specialist, there are applications which are monitoring, including the eyes movement and the face movement, and connected with different other sensors like you have seen on the body segment, like blood pressure and so on. They are quite accurate to determine the mood of the patient. And the main problem I understood when I investigated this area is not the mood itself, but unfortunately the mood swings. So sometimes you are happy and immediately you have a depression, and this can be monitored with different indicators, as I stated, including the movement of the eye and the blood pressure. And of course, there are some certain sub-use cases where and components where Java card can play a major role. Another one is about the smart connected inhalers, which is addressing and is helping in condition of asthma or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Unfortunately, these asthma involve attacks that are coming suddenly without any warning. So it's quite dramatical if someone is using an inhaler and is forgetting home. So if you have a mobile device, this mobile device is not acting only like a IoMT gateway, but also is sending notifications, please take your inhaler from home. And also some smart inhalers are smart enough to have additional sensors to detect the air within the room from the house in order to understand better what is triggering the attacks and the coughing and what is specific to asthma or to COPD. For this, in terms of security of collected data, again, it's very important to have this in mind. And Java card, of course, can play a decisive role, not only to have Java card in the inhaler, maybe in the smart inhaler and in the smartphone, or maybe it's enough in the smartphone. But for sure, the ISVs, so integrated software vendors, should keep in mind that it is not effective to keep security only in software. It makes no sense. The last use case we present for today is the use case of collecting data from inside of the human body. Usually they are referred like ingestible microbioelectronic device, IMBED. Here are several samples, not only one sample. So in the left part is one sample from Abilify My Site, which has been FDA approved like electronic pill, e-pill in 2017 for persons with Alzheimer. And the only purpose of this pill to include a chip and to be ingested was to help persons with Alzheimer to not forget to get the treatment. And for this, once the pill is inside the digestive system, the aside from digestive system is going to trigger the chip to communicate with the patch, and the patch with Bluetooth low energy is communicating with the smartphone, smart mobile device of the patient, of the Alzheimer person, the person with Alzheimer. And this is acting actually like an IoMT gateway. and is pushing alerts, notifications, and data to the doctor and even to the family members. So it's quite a good use case. And of course, Java Guard can be placed in the level of the smartphone, even in the level of the patch. If we are referring for the next use case, the next use case is the one from here, is the pill cam colon, which was intended and is intended for patients who have difficulties in going to have colonoscopies due to different reasons, like previous surgeries, anatomy, or even colon disease. This is a little bit non-invasive. You just ingest this, and instead of having colonoscopy, and it's quite good. The video camera from here is quite good in detecting different different anomalies, and because it's visualizing, the doctor, the specialist is visualizing the gastrointestinal tract and is detecting first signs of the colorectal cancer. And there are actually a lot of data from Canada and US. Being an effective pill, yes, the video, including the video stream, should be encrypted or not, is a decision of integrated software vendor in here. Moving forward, in terms of security standardization and regulations, there are two major approaches, but of course there are also others, but these are well known. So is the Joint Security Plan issued by Healthcare and Public Health Sector Coordinating Council. Is actually a product security framework. We put in here the link, and you will have access into the presentation in order to access the document which is specifying this joint security plan. And this is acting like in normal software development risk assessment, is associating CVSS scores. And this CVSS scores is taking into account different area of analysis, like impact, temporal, environmental, and so on. And for instance, for impact, of course, is targeting confidentiality, integrity, availability, and so on. And if we are moving to the last slide for this plan, joint security plan, as you can see in here, according to ISO 14971 terms and relations, we have hazard, we have harm, hazardous situation, and in the bottom we have severity of the harm and probability of the occurrence of the harm. And for this, again, are columns like quality examples. Of course, Java Card is targeting security example because you associate common vulnerability scoring system, so CVSS scoring. And according to these values, you have to pay attention to your system if it's compliant with this joint security plan. And I'm jumping with an example which has nothing to do with security, cybersecurity, and Java Card, like this one. If the isolation of the power cable is damaged, then a person by mistake can touch the power cable, unfortunately, and this could damage the health. This is a quality example. But in the area of the security and cybersecurity, I'm going to show and explain two columns, confidentiality and integrity. So, for instance, if at the application level, in compliance with HL7 set of standards or not, we are missing encryption of the sensitive data, of course, someone can sniff the network traffic, and because of this, we may have data disclosed to unauthorized person, and this is a damage to privacy. Okay, this is not nice, because actually is impacting the trust of the system, and as long as persons and specialists do not have trust in the system, they are not going to use it, whatever system it is. Regarding integrity, so if we have, for instance, an improper integrity check, and we have a poisoning of the data, so parameter injections, and these data are altered, therefore the therapy is going to be not proper and is going to be altered. And this damage, it leads to damage to the health, unfortunately, for the patient. So as you can see in here, it's very important to have the security in mind from the design, not saying, oh, I have now the medical device, what I'm going to do with the security. Should I put Java Card secure element? Should I put a TPM? It's a little bit too late. So it's going to be in the design phase. A second track, a second approach is the one from health level 7 itself, HL7, which they have different set of regulations, and one of them is fast healthcare interoperability resources. So FHIR is the acronym. Is not a security protocol, is not defining any security related functionality, but defines exchange protocol and content models, as you can see in here, need to be used with various security protocols defined as well. So in the end of the day, it's a set of recommendations for the security, because I highlighted in here what is the most important, including for Java cards. So we have authentication, so user and clients, and of course devices, non-human identity, they should be authenticated. Then we have authorization, exactly like we explained in the first use case with the doctor or the nurse that is triggering the infusion pump. Then we have the audit part. We have the digital signatures, attachments, labels. For instance, it's important the narrative. Narrative number 10 is referring to displaying information in some certain format. And so this format, according to HL7, is XHTML. So this is a set of regulations that should be taken into account by the medical device manufacturers and vendors, and of course when they are integrated with a CareAware platform. Then moving forward in the last part of the presentation, which is the conclusion and the question and answering, I'm not going to insist because you will have access to this. As we stated before, Java card specification is in version 3.2. Here are the main features for version 3.1 and 3.2 as well. On security asset perspective, cryptography and security protocols. If you are referring to security protocols, as main feature of 3.2 is TLS 1.3 and DTLS 1.3 key scheduling. If you are referring to cryptography, is the ISO 9796 digital signature and this part of configuration of RSA OAP. And of course, we are targeting in the future to be crypto, to be aware about post-quantum cryptography and to have crypto agility. And finally, this 3.1 and 3.2 is addressing new additional markets, new additional use cases, like stated before, from IoT and IoMT to blockchain. Okay, in terms of key features of the Java card for IoT and IoMT is a programmable secure runtime, as you, some of you and most of you eventually know. On top of Java card virtual machine, we have the ability to run applets. Is portable because you don't care if you are on a specific hardware from a company or from another company, as long as it's Java card compliant and yeah, has certifications, then it's fine, you can run your applet. It's manageable due to a lot of set of standards, from global platform to 3GPP and GSMA, and it is extensible. This being said, more information is at oracle.com/java/javacard. The last version of the specification is 3.2. We have tools and simulator, and we have blog. So please feel free to contact JCF if you or us if you need more information about Java card platform, Java card technology, and eventually how could be integrated into IoMT. Thank you very much. I'm waiting for questions.
Thank you, Christian and Brian. I think we have time for maybe one or two questions before 6. Do we have a question in the audience? I would have a question myself concerning I would say the potential of the Java card for these devices. I think, as I see, the market is quite fragmented for these devices, and there's probably an integration challenge for people that want to put secure elements, Java card secure elements into their devices. Is it easy for them? Because I guess they have different operating systems. they have different hardware, and so including the Java card embedded secure element is probably a challenge because there's no standard around.
Yes, yes and no. The short answer. The market indeed is fragmented. It's like IoT market in the end of the day. The difference is the following. In IoMT, the main, and correct me, Brian, if I'm wrong, the main set of standards for interoperability, which is, is providing this interoperability, is the set of standard of health level 7, HL7, including the data structures and so on. Of course, this is not addressing the fragmentation of the hardware landscape, where the embedded secure elements should fit in. But as you know, there are already implementations in different medical devices, which they have a secure element eventually with Java card. And this can be achieved in various approaches. So one approach would be to go to the medical device manufacturer and saying, look, it's important to have security in mind. Let's collaborate and let's have an embedded secure element in there with Java card. This is one way. But the other way is to think where do you need exactly to interact with this embedded secure element, and to go through validation or certification program, and saying, look, because for us is very important the risk assessment and non-human identity and so on, we strongly recommend to have a secure element, tamper-resistant. Of course, you cannot say, oh, with Java card, but it's clear that you need a very powerful security mechanism in there. And therefore, the vendors are coming vice versa. And the vendors are going to the standardization bodies and are going to different integrators and saying, oh, what solution should I have? I think is bidirectional, is not only one way. Going to the vendors or to the manufacturer and saying, oh, look, you should use Java card if you want to achieve more security. I think also vice versa, as long as there are some certain use cases implemented already, eventually, they would be interested in achieving a high level of security through the secure elements with Java card platform, hopefully. Yeah, I don't know if I answered to your question completely, but
yeah, and another one would be for the the alternative to Java card secure element is just plain software. And so do you see in the certification programs guideline enough push to have tamper-resistant secure element, or it's just voluntary?
As far as I have read and investigate, I have seen it's starting to be a push lately, because most of the specialists and the people involved in this area, they are aware that you cannot provide security only with software. And because, as we stated before, and also Brian stated, trust is very important. So if you have a system and by any reason you lost that trust, or that trust is damaged, that system is not going to be used. It's a huge impact in the image, in the business, and in what is happening in there. Maybe at your question, Brian can answer better. Brian, do you know, if there is a strong regulation regarding usage of tamper-resistant hardware in order to provide security of the medical devices, or?
I'm not aware of a standard out there right now that's being regulated, but it like, as you stated though, it's coming, and as we flush out these workflows and it becomes available, that'll start to drive and push the market down that direction. So if it is something that's been available, it's been vetted out and shown to provide value, and it's a documented value, I don't know how you could be a device manufacturer and not have an answer within that space. It starts to push the entire market down that way. So some of this is just defining what those validations are, or what those workflows are that we want to support, and then we can even put validations around this.
Thank you.
I think we are reaching the end of the meeting. Well, thank you, Brian and Christian, for this very interesting presentation. It will be posted on the YouTube channel of JavaCat Forum for you to view. Stay tuned. There's also one more webinar to go for the webinar series next week. I hope you enjoyed this one. And with this, good afternoon or good morning, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yep, thank you.